Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I know it has been a really long time and I apologize. I came back from Pakistan. 2 days in, I got COVID for 2 weeks. I was fine for a week, then I went and I got chemical bronchitis from a bonfire, which was just fucking grand. So for the 6 weeks I've been in Canada, I've been sick for 4 of those weeks. So honestly, it hasn't been great, but I'm back. And that's what matters. And if you've noticed, I'm like lighter brunette now. I dyed my hair, you know, feeling nice. The summer is coming up, so I was like, I just want to change. Just want a change of everything, you know what I mean? But anyway, you guys, quick rant over. Hello, I'm Eamon. If you are new here, hello. Thank you for joining me. And if you're a returning sub, then I'm so sorry that I'm so inconsistent, but I promise I will do better. Now, anyway, today I'm gonna be talking about my first ever job, and I think a lot of people think my first ever job was most amazing, which is actually false. If you guys didn't know, I actually was a sales rep / model at Abercrombie and Fitch for about 3 years while I was in university. That was my first ever job because in Dubai you can't get a job until you're 21, so obviously I couldn't really get a job there. And then I came to uni and I was like, let me see what working is about.
Working? Making money? I've never done that. Let me try.
So either way, okay, so I wanted to get into the nitty-gritty of what it was actually like working at Abercrombie and Fitch, because I feel like a lot of people think they may know what it was like. I know the documentary on Netflix has a lot of people like, oh my god, Abercrombie this, Abercrombie that. So I'm here to set the record straight. What was it actually like working at Abercrombie and Fitch? Are we just Abercrombie and bitch? Are we really that? Let's find out. So I got my job there in 2016 and the interview was really casual. It was like a group interview. It was like 5 people and they asked you stuff like, you know, if someone came in and she didn't know what she was looking for, you know, how would you help her? What's your favorite style trend right now? Like things that, you know, just retail stores ask you when obviously they hire you. But since I never even had an interview or like had a job, I was like, you know, writing down all my answers the night before and I was like, oh my god, if she asks this, I'm gonna say this. And like, what does Abercrombie mean to me? It's a lifestyle. Like I had all my questions ready, I had all my answers ready, but thankfully she didn't ask any of that. And either way, within 2 weeks, I got the call that I did get the job. And so let's actually get into what the fuck working at Abercrombie is actually like. I feel like Abercrombie and Fitch very much has that stigma where everyone who works there is just above averagely good looking. Like people who are working at the store, like all the sales reps that you meet, like they're just magically good looking and you always wonder why. And the truth is, I'm pretty sure that's because they hire us based off our looks. And it's really weird. So in Abercrombie, and I'm pretty sure in most retail shops, there's the sales reps that work on the floor, in the changing room, at the cash. You know, we're the ones that, you know, help you put your outfits together, tell you where, you know, your sizes may be and all that stuff. Those are the sales reps who are on the floor and who are the most custom facing. Then we have the stock associates who work in the stock room, obviously, and they're the ones when we walkie-talkie and ask for one of your sizes that are not on the floor, the stock associates are the ones that go and get them and see if they're at the back, right? And they're also obviously like stocking all like the things that have been sold out, putting them back on the shelves, etc. And okay, I want to preface this with the fact I'm not trying to hate on anyone who's ever worked at Abercrombie. I'm not trying to hate on anybody I worked with at Abercrombie and Fitch, but this is just my candid experience working there, like as someone who can now see it from a third perspective. Like this is what actually it was like working there. I found that there was a huge discrepancy between what sales reps look like and what stock associates look like. For the most part, I felt like they put the less good-looking people as stock associates so they could be at the back and the more good-looking people at the front being sales reps. And obviously, like, I never said this out loud to any of the stock associates or any of the sales reps, but like the friends that I did make, I started talking to them about it and I was like, hey, have you noticed that, you know, our not best looking employees are the ones that are in stock? And a lot of people did realize this, but I guess this is just This was something that was unspoken. And they also wanted you, like, the quieter you were, the more likely you were gonna be a stock. If you were talking a lot and if you were a very talkative employee, you were most likely a sales rep. If you wanted to go from being a sales rep to being a stock, you had to show the managers that, hey, you know, I can get my work done. I'm not just talking all the time. I'm not just there trying to flirt with all of my coworkers. Like, I'm here and I mean business, right? So we have sales reps, we have stock associates, and above us, we have our managers. And I'm not gonna take any real names. We had, I think there was 3 or 4 managers while I was there at the time. So the main boss, I'm gonna say, is Jen. Jen is the boss of all the other, like, managers as well, but she's also one of the managers. And Jen really irked me. For some reason, it was one of those things where it was like the boys could come in as late as they wanted. She would not say anything to them, you know, like they could walk in like 2-3 hours late for their shift and she'd be like, oh, that's okay, Brendan, that's okay. If a girl showed up late, she'd be like,
why are you 2 minutes late? That's unacceptable. I'm giving you a write-up.
And it's like, dude, just admit you don't write up the male employees because you think they're good looking and you're flirting with all of them. Like, the girls got such, like, the shit end of the stick. Obviously, unless it was a male manager, then they were a lot nicer to us. But otherwise, like, the female, like, the one female manager, like, the boss of all the bosses, she was a bitch. Like, honestly, like, she gave me anxiety. Like, I hated going to work knowing she was gonna be the manager on shift because I was like, I fucking hate you. And there's a lot to do with the managers as well. So obviously the policy is employees can date each other, but managers and employees cannot date. Obviously there was a lot of intermingling, like fucking and dating going on anyway. Honestly, and I didn't even know this. Like, it's so funny because people would come to work, like make, you know, like work type jokes, like, oh, like when did your shift start, when did your shift end, blah, blah, blah. But no one would probably be banting with each other. And that's also because if we spoke to each other too much, we would get told off or we would get moved, right? And what I realized was that when I started getting invited to all the Abercrombie parties and stuff like that, I realized all these people are actually fucking each other. And I had no idea. Like, this is me in 2016. I was like 18 at the time. And I didn't know. I was so innocent. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. I just assumed, you know, like they were just like bitchy and they just didn't want to talk to each other. Turns out they're all just fucking on the down low and like they just don't want to say anything to anyone. So that was huge. That's what I realized, where all the Abercrombies are just fucking each other. Now, let's get into the actual job. So there was the women's side, the men's side, the middle area, and obviously the back where all the clearance items are. So you could be stationed in either women's 1, which is at the front, women's 2, which is right behind, canoe, which is the cashier area and, you know, loungewear, or you could be in women's 3, which is clearance. And obviously all of that goes for men's 1, men's 2, canoe, and men's 3 as well. So those were the stations you could be stationed at, as well as both fitting rooms. And what they told you was most shifts were 4 hours long, and the managers would tell you, you know, after every 2 hours, I will, you know, zone you somewhere else. I'll station you somewhere else. But that never fucking happened. Like, there would be so many times where I would literally be in women's 1 for 3.5 hours. And I was like, dude, my shift ends in half an hour. I've been standing in the same fucking place for 3.5 hours. And it gets so boring. So there was a lot of like unprofessionalism in that regard. And also they told you that, you know, within your first 2-3 months of working at Abercrombie, you should be trained on cash. I had to work there for 6-7 fucking months before I even got trained on cash. And I was so annoyed because managers really picked favorites. And it really felt like, okay, imagine all the popular bitchy people at your high school, all of them worked at Abercrombie and Fitch. That's what I felt. I felt like I was surrounded by all like the bitchy, jockey, like good looking people that were, you know, peaked in high school. You know what I mean? Like that was the kind of crowd that it was. But we had a lot of fun and there was a lot of ego involved. Like, you definitely knew you were good looking because you worked at Abercrombie and Fitch. And it's not even that it was like a self-awareness thing. Like, customers would like, you know, come up to us on the daily and be like, oh, like, you're so attractive, like this, that, like, give us their numbers. And like, to the point, like, they would hardcore flirt with us and we would have to get, you know, the manager on call to be like, oh, hey, can you like distract this customer while I go to the back so they can stop harassing me? Like, I've dealt with like many situations where like I'm fixing the jeans and an older man comes and starts talking to me and asks for my number and he's like 50 and I'm like sir, I could be your daughter. You know what I mean? But also, like, there was a lot of dating within the employees as well. Like, I remember this one stock guy, you know, wrote his like number on like a little like piece of paper and folded it up and put it in my like the pocket of my jeans while I was working and stuff. And I was like, ooh, okay. We did not go to date, but like that was just a side note. Hey guys, it is me from the future. I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Now, if you don't know what Skillshare is, it's basically an online learning community that has thousands of classes on basically every topic you could think of. Creative writing, photography, freelance, music, film, video creation, whatever you want to do, there's a class for it. And thankfully they post new classes every single week, so you never run out of things to learn. Now, I initially started taking classes because I wanted to become a better creator, and I started taking classes to make compelling content and whatnot, but the most recent class I took was Camera Basics for Video Creators by Jevin Dovey. And he basically teaches you how to use any camera and get the most out of it. And obviously, as a YouTuber, I have a pretty heavy duty camera that has a lot of settings that I've never used and I don't know how to use. So it was really helpful learning, you know, how to get the most out of your camera. And one of the best things about Skillshare is no ads. You can just continue learning, and there's just no interruptions. Now, if this is something that you're interested in, I have got you, because the first 1,000 people to use the link will get a 1 month of free trial of Skillshare. The link is in the description box, and yeah, go click it right away. Back to the video. But yes, there was a lot of ego, and we all, I feel like, were cocky about the fact that we worked at Abercrombie Fitch, and it was something to be proud of. And I feel like looking back at this now, maybe this was us just being cocky and just sort of selfish, because there definitely was a certain type of look that, you know, the employees had. You know, there wasn't a lot of employees that were chubby or even overweight. Like, most people were in shape, and if you weren't in shape, you're most likely a stalk, if an employee at all. And I found that the turnover was really quick. Like, even with employees, we had thousands of employees in the database at once, whether it be seasonals or the people that were year round. Even the managers, like the manager situation was so toxic because of this one Jenna, what did I even call her? Jenna, whatever the fuck I called her. She just made it such a toxic environment for everyone. Like, the managers, she would bitch about the managers. She would, you know, try and get tea about other employees from like her favorite girl employees. And it was just very cliquey. And for the most part, I did keep it as work. But then obviously when you start getting invited to the parties and stuff like that, that's when you start realizing what these people are like outside of work. And you realize they're pretty much the exact fucking same. I remember once we were invited to a party of this Irish guy who was here on a work holiday, started working at Abercrombie Fitch, and he invited me and a bunch of like the Fitches. We just called us the Fitches. We all went to his house for a party, and obviously the friends that he had made outside of work were there, as well as the people from work were there. And I felt like I was at a high school party. And keep in mind, like, partying with people from Abercrombie Fitch was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. It was very cliquey. And even within the employees, it was like, oh, those are the more popular employees who the managers really like. These are the less popular employees. Oh, these are the employees that don't really work. This is the employee that can't really banter with anybody. There was a lot of like, oh, this employee is this and employee is this. Either way, we get to the party and it is actually a lot of fun, but then everyone that worked at Abercrombie Fitch just went upstairs, and I went upstairs and I was like, oh, hey guys, you know, like, what's going on? Like, the party's downstairs sort of thing. And we were just sitting around and talking, and like the kind of stuff that was being said was very elitist. Like, oh, like, you know, like, we're Abercrombie, like, we're hot, like, if they want to talk to us, they can come talk to us, like, we're not gonna go talk to them. It was like that sort of attitude, like very much like better than thou and holier than thou. And I was like, guys, like, we're not God. Like, we just work in a retail store. Like, I don't know why everyone thinks they're so much better than everybody else. But yeah, like, I tried to make people go down and like mingle with everybody. But you could tell even like the people, like the guys' friends who weren't working with us, they were also like, dude, who are these people that you invited, and why do they all have sticks up their ass? And I was like, honestly, true, like, you're not wrong. Like, everyone just sat upstairs, drank with themselves, and not even, you know, really interact with anybody else. So that's when I realized, okay, this is kind of a toxic environment to be working in, but even like the girls were bitchy, like some girls were nice, some girls weren't. As soon as we got like a new employee, everyone was like, ooh, what's he about? Like, where's he from? And obviously since all the employees were good looking, like it was pretty much fair game, like anybody could get with anybody. Working there was fun, you guys. Working there was fun, don't get me wrong. It was a lot of fun. I would say it was a huge ego boost as well. And even these days, like if somebody asks me like what I used to do and I tell them I work at Abercrombie Fitch, like, oh, of course you did, like, like, should've known and stuff like that. And like, it's still a proud thing for me because obviously like Abercrombie still has that stigma, but there were so many things that were wrong with working there and so many things that were just wrong with the company as a whole. Firstly, our sizes. We would go to extra small all the way to extra large or extra large, but the extra larges were not large. I would have many customers come up to me and be like, you guys don't have inclusive sizing. Like this extra large is like a medium at Levi's. Like this extra large is just, you know, like a large somewhere else. And they just kept telling us that our clothes were just too small and like they just fit a lot smaller than other retail stores. And I mean, why is that? You guys, if you haven't seen the documentary, it's because that's what they wanted the brand to be, where they wanted the brand to be sporty, like surfy, outdoorsy kind of people, you know, naturally very good looking, naturally sun-kissed, naturally just born with abs. Like that's what the image was. And obviously, thank God, like when I was working there, it wasn't just full of white employees. There was a lot of diversity. If anything, like our employees were more diverse than they were white. And I know that that has been a huge thing because I know they only used to like hire white employees for a very long time. So at least like diversity is definitely one thing. The managers just made it very toxic. Like the managers had favorites and they would like honestly bitch about you to the point you'd come into the stockroom and like they would just stop talking. And you know for a fact they were talking about you. And it's like, dude, what were you saying? You know what I mean? Like what the fuck were you saying? And I felt like when new people came and started working there, like people weren't very welcoming to the new employees, especially if they were seasonal and we knew they weren't going to be there for more than a month or two, like past Christmas. People were not very friendly with them, but it was also like even all the seasonals would come, try and fuck as many people as they could and just leave. It was like a high school keg party on crack. But like obviously all of us were very professional when we were at work. Honestly, work was so fucking boring. And our managers would actually emotionally manipulate us. Like if I couldn't work on a Black Friday, for example, like my manager Jen would call me up and be like, yeah, but like you don't understand how much we need you. Like you're one of our like best employees. You're one of our oldest employees. Like what are you saying? Like what do you mean you can't do this to me? Like what do you mean I can't do this to you? What do you mean? And like it was just so like, why are you saying these things? Like it's not my fault you're shorthanded on Black Friday. Like you don't get to emotionally manipulate me because I don't want to work on Black Friday. You know what I mean? And it's not like we didn't even get time and a half on Black Friday. So it's like, what do you mean? I don't want to work. I don't want to like fold all the clothes so nicely in a shelf, turn around and 30 seconds later it's all just chaos. You know, like it was tough. I mean, we did go to like work socials and stuff like that. I remember once we went to the beach as a work social and that was crazy. Like I remember Jen, the manager, was like getting jealous that all the employees were sort of talking to the other managers and not her. And she actually like flicked her drink at us. I had my back to her. I was talking to the other managers along with this other coworker that was next to me, and she kind of flicked her drink this way and it landed on me and it landed on the employee next to me. And I was just like, what the fuck? Like, how are you 30 years old and throwing your drink at me because we're talking to the other managers and not you? Like, are you like what? Like, this woman needs to go to therapy. This woman needs to like get a boyfriend, have a kid, get a pet. I don't know, like do something to fulfill your life rather than just getting into this pettiness. Like, what is this? And even the stocks hated us. The stocks hated the sales reps. The stocks hated the employees. Like the stocks were honestly the only cool people. You know, they were very low key. They were very chill. They were friends with everyone. And it's not even that all the stock employees were not as good looking as the sales reps. There were some pretty good looking stock employees as well, but they didn't last very long. The divide was huge. The divide between people, and like everyone would be nice to you and stuff like that, but it wasn't real. It was very petty and it was very like, yeah, I'll be nice to you at work, but like you're not my friend. I worked there for 3 years. I still worked there while I got my job at Most Amazing Top 10. So I got my job at Most Amazing Top 10, I want to say in October of 2018, and I quit Abercrombie in Feb of 2019. So it was about a 3-year experience. It was fun for me to watch the documentary, but it was also hard because a lot of things they were saying were just very accurate. I mean, I'm not gonna regret the time that I spent at Abercrombie & Fitch because I look back at those times and it was fun. You know, working the shifts and like making my own money and like having work friends for the first time. Like it was fun for me, but that's because that was my first job. And I know obviously if you've had like 3-4 jobs, like Abercrombie's gonna be like the last thing you wanna do. But it was a fun job. It was toxic, but if you made the toxicity work for you, then it was a lot of fun. Like I am still friends with like at least a handful of people that I used to work with, and I would say I'm still pretty close to them. Everybody else, I'm just like, no, like I follow you on Instagram, but that's about it. I'll like your picture, but like I'm never gonna really like reach out to you, you know what I mean? And then after a while, like even the stocks started getting very cliquey and very like we don't really want to speak to other people. It was honestly a whole mess. And like you could be such a good employee, be trained on cash and everything, but if you weren't like a manager's favorite, you would never be put on cash, ever. It was only the favorites that would get to be on cash, and that's because being on cash was the funnest part of the job. Women's 3, men's 3, the clearance section, fucking ass. Fitting room, you're in there, claustrophobic as fuck for 3 hours, shit. Being at the front of the shop was nice as well, but honestly, cash was the only part that was fun, because you could honestly just like chill and fuck around when like there wasn't any customers there. Obviously, we couldn't fuck around because they had cameras and they're like, why aren't you working? Go maintain those perfumes over there. But yeah, so that was my experience working at Abercrombie & Fitch. I worked at the Abercrombie & Fitch at the Eaton Centre. If you guys know about Canada, then like this is like the mall downtown, the Eaton Centre. So it was like a 10-minute walk from my house, and obviously I was in uni at the time, so I'd like finish like my class and quickly take the subway to the Eaton Centre and like run to my shift. But it was nice. Like even when I tried to quit, actually they wouldn't let me go. Like I'd got the job at Most Amazing Top 10. They were paying me a bit more than minimum wage, and obviously retail is minimum wage, so obviously I wanted to go for the job that, you know, gave me more money and, you know, was better for my career. And even when I called them to tell them, you know, like I'd like to, you know, like give in like my resignation, like I want to quit, and they were like, oh no, please don't quit, we need you, like you're one of our oldest employees now. 3 years, I worked there for 3 years and suddenly I'm their oldest employee, like what is that? But they basically convinced me to not quit and just turn my availability off, and if I ever wanted to pick up a shift, I could. So that's what I did, and actually I didn't even quit or whatever. I just got sent an email in February, and it was an exit interview, and it was like, thank you for your time at Abercrombie & Fitch and everything you've contributed. And I was like, did I even quit? When did I quit? Why am I getting an exit interview? It was very strange. But either way, I'm glad that time is behind me. If you've ever walked into an Abercrombie store and you felt attacked by the way the employees look or how small the sizes are, I'm sorry. Trust me, it wasn't fun for us as employees either. Like we definitely understood where you guys were coming from, and we do understand, like even me, like I was very, very skinny when I worked at Abercrombie & Fitch, and now I've gained weight. I wonder if I went back, like would those sizes still fit me? Would I still be an extra small? Would I still be a small? Probably not. Maybe I'd even be a large, like I don't know. And people had this weird thing, like obviously because we got such a good discount, it was like 50% off 10 items a month and the rest was 30% off, right? So if you were working there, you had to wear something that was Abercrombie & Fitch. You couldn't wear anything from any other store. It didn't have to be like the one where it's like A and F, but if a customer liked what you were wearing and asked you where it was from, like you'd have to say it was Abercrombie. Or if it wasn't from Abercrombie, you couldn't tell them where you actually got it from. You'd have to tell them like, oh, I got it from somewhere else, but we have something similar in store. I'm sweating even talking about this because I know a lot of like my fellow like ex-coworkers and ex-managers still follow me on Instagram, and I hope they don't watch this and get offended. I don't mean to offend anyone by making this video, but I feel like, you know, like I just wanted to get into it and tell you guys like the dirty secrets of what it was actually like working at Abercrombie & Fitch. And fun fact, people always ask us why the store smells so strongly of fierce, and that's actually because we spray a bit of it in the mopping solution. So when the shop is getting Swiffered and mopped and stuff like that, fierce is going all over the floor, and we also would spray it on the clothes. So that's why as soon as you walked into the store, like the smell was just overbearing. Honestly, I didn't mind it. I love Fierce. Even till this day, I still love Fierce. It brings back memories for sure. And I remember like the boyfriend I had at the time, I'd always get him Fierce perfume because I was like, dude, wear this, it's great. And I loved coming out of work because then at least like I came out of work smelling really good. But yeah, you guys, that was basically sort of like the ins and outs of what it was like working at an Abercrombie and Fitch. I hope I kind of exposed some secrets that maybe you guys didn't know. I mean, I definitely hope I did. Why am I so small right now? Hee hee. Let me know if you guys have any questions about my time there. Please no X-rated questions. Don't ask me if I fucked any of the employees. The answer is no. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought in the comments below, and thank you for watching. Bye.